It's the
Recording in
people
progress.
and of course the customers. Because if the customers stop buying because of the impact of the crisis on them, that affects everything that we're doing. And that's with respect to a business. Or for church ministry, if the church members stop coming, that's going to affect on the aspirations of the church, right? So what I observed is that the pandemic revealed the values that organizations are built on. Yeah. Some organizations value profit over people, value money over humans. And honestly, if we're going to get the best out of people, we must recognize that humans are the most valuable assets on this planet. So that's one important reset point, an important reset point, valuing people. So we need to keep the focus on people, isn't it? Value people. We need to demonstrate value for life. We need to demonstrate value for life. In other words, where we need to sacrifice something for the other, we should not sacrifice human life for money. We should sacrifice money for human life. At the end of the day, the quality of an organization would never be better than the quality of the people in it on the long run. Okay. Right now, right after the pandemic, we've had a scenario that is called the Great Resignation. So in many parts of the world, people moved. People are moving jobs. People are even moving locations. You have mass immigration in some parts of the world. Why? The value that leaders place on the lives of their people, that value was revealed during the pandemic. People saw it. There was no hiding place. It's very important, okay? So what we have right now are shifts in loyalties, okay? We're having shifts in loyalties. So these are the points I just made. The pandemic, like a storm, has revealed whether organizations are built on solid or weak values. An organization's greatest resource for dealing with crisis is people. Organizations that value profit over people did not treat people well during the pandemic. Agreed, right? Some organizations had to lay people off because it's a smart thing to do. You know, if the turnover is going down, rather than wreck the organization, sometimes you have to let people go. But where value is placed on people, that process of letting people go is still humane. People know it's not out of vendetta, not out of vengeance. It's not because we consider them to be dispensable, but simply because we have to. So right now, you're having shifts in loyalties. You're having shifts in corporate citizenship. That's what we call it. Because some people are happy to be part of an organization. And sometimes people think it's about money. And sometimes it's a whole lot more than money. People want to be valued, right? Good. Second point, we've got to create a new future. We've got to create a new future. It's time to re-examine our vision, our goals, our aspirations, those pictures that we have about the future. So things are not returning to the old normal, but to the new normal. Why? We've discovered more efficient ways of doing things. We've discovered more efficient ways of doing things. We are running a conference right now on Zoom. Isn't that amazing? In terms of efficiency, I don't even know how to quantify it. The need for a physical venue, the setting up of equipment, the people that will do the job. Every single person will have to come in a vehicle, right? Every single person would have to go through traffic. I would have had, you would have had to buy a ticket for me, a return ticket, right? A return ticket, right? And I'm right here in Atlanta, Georgia. So it's not a short distance, right? I will have had to fly, you know, some 12 hours or more, right? To be in a crowd, and to come back. So in terms of efficiency, this is amazing. I mean, for church, for example, honestly, I don't blame members of our church who on Sundays sometimes have made up their minds they would attend the service physically. That's in Lagos. And then they change their minds in the morning. I wish they didn't, but I cannot blame them. Honestly, I can't blame them when you just consider, because to get, into a car park, sometimes you'll be in traffic for maybe 30 minutes or so, especially when where services are overlapping. And then you think about what it will take, you get into that car park, then we bus you, to the service and so on. After the service, we bus you back, and then you have to be in traffic. And then suddenly you realize you actually can attend the service in your pajamas. In your pajamas. In fact, someone told me that actually she can cook. Sometimes she cooks while the service is going on. And then while the people that went for the physical service are still on their way back home, you've already switched to another parish, right? Or to another church, and you're attending your second service. Some people attend 3 services, right? On a Sunday, right? Without moving from their bedrooms. So I'm just saying things have changed. If they have changed, they have changed. It's like in the early 90s, Jeff Bezos, right? One of the richest people in the world, the founder of Amazon, his own big deal was about books. Why do I have to go into a bookshop to buy books? Since the internet is there, why can't we leverage the internet, to allow people to buy books? And he was talking about it for 10 years. He was laboring, struggling, trying to improve the system and all that, delivery, that. But honestly, once Amazon turned the curve, there was no stopping. They wrecked bookshops and then expanded beyond bookshops. Now, practically everything. Now here in Atlanta, I can order anything, including meat, beef, anything, bread, beef, anything, water, to be delivered to the house. So things have changed. I should not stress that too much. Things have changed. I know in some parts of the world, maybe in Africa, it may be a bit slower, but honestly, things have changed. A crisis exposes weaknesses, just like a storm. That's how the pandemic came. Honestly, I prayed at the beginning of the pandemic because it's something only few people in the world had ever seen before. The last time it happened was 100 years ago. So I had to pray, because this was beyond my logical reasoning, although I began to do research, to find out whatever it was they did 100 years ago with the limited records that we have. But I also had to deal with it at an intuitive level. And I was just praying, Lord, what is this about? And it was like, well, the response I got was, this is like a Matthew 7 experience. Somebody wanted to build his house. He found a rock. He dug deep, found a rock, built it on the house, built the house on it, sorry. And the storm came, okay? The rain fell, the floods came, hit hard on the house. The house stood. And then somebody built his house on sand. When the storms came and hit on the house collapsed. So I realized this thing was going to test whatever we had been building on. A crisis exposes weaknesses. So we should simply make a crisis a learning experience. And then it's time for us to know what works, know what does, know which part of a building caught inefficiencies. Caught inefficiencies. That's my advice to organizations. Caught inefficiencies. So whatever is not, what brought us here may not take us beyond here. Okay. Cutting efficiencies is not easy. I'll tell you that, especially as a founder, an organizational leader. We're just sentimentally attached to some things. But I always speak to our staff members from John chapter 15 in the Bible. Christ said, I'm the tree, you guys are the branches. Any branch that doesn't bear fruit, he said, my father cuts it. The one that bears fruit, he prunes it so that it can bear more fruit. And I said, wow, oh my God, so God is decisive about inefficiency. That's what he said, decisive about inefficiency. Don't whip a dead horse, just dismount, right? If it's not working anymore, kill it. In fact, before it kills you or kills the organization, show it. But we're still holding on to it. It worked yesterday, it's not proof it will work tomorrow, right? So I just want to cause to cut. And when I talk to our staff, I read it from the King James Bible. It says, any branch that beareth not fruit, he cutteth it. So I tell them, I feel it more when I use the word cutted. Yes, cut. Emotional blood will flow, fine, but we will survive, right? It's to prepare us for the future, cutting efficiencies. And then this is good. This is important. Reimagine your organization. Reimagine the organization. This is just, let's allow, right? Let's allow our imagination to be flexible. Inflexible imagination is a liability, it's a problem. It's a barrier to progress. Example, for those of us that are of faith, Acts chapter 10, okay, that time that Christ spoke about from John chapter 12, when the Gentiles will be reached, it was now time because Christ was not ready. So the Bible says that God brought down a sheet from heaven, showed him all kinds of animals, and God himself said, Peter, stand up and eat these animals. But they happened to be the animals that were called unclean in the Old Testament. And it is recorded there in Acts 10 that Peter told God, Lord, you know that I have never eaten anything that is called unclean. Then God said to him, you, Peter, don't have the authority to call unclean what I have decided to call clean. What was the argument that was going on there?